We at it again tonight. Tonight, Latasha, Shireen Williams, um, York County Assistant District Attorney, also running for the Dauphin County Common Pleas Court Judge candidacy. And tonight she has some special guests, people that she actually helped in some serious situations. It's the fireside chat with guess who? Latasha Shireen Williams. So Latasha, tonight we got Jeff is on board first. You might want to tell everybody who some dialogue of yourself first, and then jump right into Jeff, and let's go on this journey.
Right. I don't. I don't.
Awesome.
I don't see anything on the Facebook page just to do the share.
You will. Don't
Okay.
worry. It's going to
Okay.
show up. All
Yeah,
right.
you might need to just refresh your screen, Jeff. So like pull it down, yank it down to refresh it,
No,
and then
don't.
you'll see it
Yeah,
there.
just do the interview, and trust me, it's
Gotcha.
going to pop up. All right.
So, first of all, thank you guys again for having me. It's always a pleasure being on your show. And, I just want to give a quick shout out to SL Digital Media Podcast, which is a duo of Scarfo and Fred Harrison. You guys, do such a wonderful job of informing the community and just keeping us all connected. We learn about each other, what's going on from day to day, all throughout Pennsylvania and other places that you guys cover. So big shout out to you guys for doing what you do. We appreciate it. And the message that we bring on the show is spread far and wide. So I am happy to be here again. As you said, I am Latasha Williams. I am currently an assistant district attorney in York County, Pennsylvania. However, I live in Dauphin County, Pennsylvania. I have lived in Dauphin County, Pennsylvania for the past 13 years. A wonderful community. I've lived in the city of Harrisburg, and I've also lived on the outskirts in Swatara Township, Susquehanna Township, and I'm currently a resident of Susquehanna Township. And so I'm running for a judgeship on our Court of Common Pleas here in Dauphin County in a historic election. The election is actually 2 weeks from tomorrow, so that's very exciting. It's down to the wire at this point. In fact, I just came in from the pouring rain, just out with voters, knocking on doors, getting the message out about who I am and what my platform, if you want to call it a platform, but what my platform is about and what I will bring to the bench if I am so lucky to be elected to the bench to be of service to you guys. And one of the things that I have talked about and that I'm very proud of is the work I've done in the areas of wrongful conviction. In the broadcast studio right now with us is Jeff Deskovic. I am proud to call Jeff a friend. We have a very interesting story in terms of how we met. But Jeff has a very interesting story. And I'm going to now just turn over to Jeff so that he can share with our viewing audience his story. And then I'll talk about how we met, and we'll be joined by other guests throughout tonight's broadcast. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Hi. Thanks, Latasha. Yeah, so my name's Jeff Deskovic, and I was exonerated after 16 years in prison through DNA. I was 16 when I was arrested for a murder and rape, which I did not commit. I was wrongfully convicted despite a pretrial negative DNA test result. The conviction was caused by a coerced false confession, prosecutorial misconduct, fraud by the medical examiner, a terrible public defender. I was given a 15 to life sentence. I did 16 years. I lost 7 appeals. I got turned down for parole, and ultimately I was exonerated through further DNA testing, which not only affirmed my innocence but identified the actual perpetrator, who would kill the second victim 3.5 years later. So my charges were dismissed on actual innocence grounds, and I'm now an advocate, and I am an attorney. Yeah, my life mission is to fight to free other wrongfully convicted people and work for policy changes aimed at preventing those injustices from happening in the first place.
Awesome. And where was your conviction, Jeff?
That was in New York, in Westchester County.
Great. And so that's a very short version of Jeff's story. And when you came out of prison and were exonerated, What did you do to help other people that you found in a similar situation?
Sure. So after about 5 years, I was finally financially compensated, which that's an issue in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania being one of 15 states that does not currently offer compensation, but New York did. And after being an individual advocate for about 5 years, I was financially compensated, and I used some of the money to start the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice, whose purpose is to free other wrongfully convicted people, and again to push the policy changes. So we've been able to free 10 wrongfully convicted people and help pass 7 laws, including one in Pennsylvania, automatic expungement. So we had the unique situation where people were being exonerated in Pennsylvania, and yet their records weren't cleared. So when they went for job interviews and apartments in similar situations, they would have records. So we got that change will be automatic. But it's my work at the foundation that actually brought me in contact with you for the first time.
Yes. So I'm trying to remember, Jeff, the first time we met, did we meet before Lorenzo was released the first time, which will tell the viewing audience all about that craziness, or was it when we took him back? It's been I've known you for a while now, so I can't remember exactly when we met.
Yeah, I think that it was after. I think that it was after, because prior to that, I hadn't met Lorenzo. We had just corresponded a little bit lightly, but that was, we hadn't really developed a friendship yet at that point. So I think that would have been the first time we met in person. Yes, we had to, yeah. But just for some context, I mean, the details will come when Lorenzo comes out. But just for now, just so the audience has some context, suffice it to say that Lorenzo Johnson was a New Yorker who was wrongfully convicted in the state of Pennsylvania. So you had that unique twist there. And his conviction was overturned after 16 and a half years based on legally insufficient evidence. And, Lorenzo and I had briefly corresponded a little bit while he was still in. And when he came home, the foundation helped him to reintegrate, and the then Pennsylvania Attorney General appealed the reversal to the U.S. Supreme Court, which reinstated his conviction, and ultimately I had to drive him back to prison to resume a life without parole sentence. And we connected with you in one of the cities or towns that was right near that prison, and we had this really somber last lunch type of thing.
Yeah. Thank you for providing that context to the viewers. And when Lorenzo joins us, he will give more detail and depth about his story. But just so the audience knows, Lorenzo Johnson's case is out of Dauphin County, the city of Harrisburg. Lorenzo and his co-defendant, Corey Walker, had been accused of a murder that they did not commit. And Lorenzo was finally freed from prison in July of 2017. Corey Walker was freed just 2 years later. But they will talk a bit more about that in just a bit. And I wanted to ask you, Jeff, what, as if I have to ask, but what inspired you to become an attorney?
Sure. Well, I got tired of sitting in the front row of the courtroom. That wasn't enough for me anymore. I wanted to be able to sit at the table, represent some of the clients myself, make some of the arguments, so hence going to law school and becoming an attorney. But, when Lorenzo was brought back, there became like a 5-way collaborative effort at trying to help him regain his freedom. And that's where I did a lot of work with you. The foundation helped a little bit on the investigative side, but primarily, our role was just the public relational aspect, and also the grassroots. And sometimes the foundation would rent buses, and we would get bus loads of New Yorkers over to Pennsylvania to hold rallies outside of the then Pennsylvania Attorney General's office, and hand delivering thousands and thousands of signatures. And, we handled the bus side of it, the PR side of it, because a lot of Lorenzo's family and supporters were from New York, hence providing the transportation. But you were the on-the-ground coordinator, of everything that happened on the ground over there. So once that bus pulled up and we put the podium down, I always felt in great hands. I'm like, all right, Latasha's got it from here, and from coordinating that to being like kind of like the MC of that event and speaking to the press and deciding what the order of speakers was and everything. I mean, that was all you. You did a lot of work, which is one of the reasons why I'm really a strong supporter, of your candidacy as a judge, because if somebody has that type of work in their background, then you already know that they're well aware of injustices heading into that position. So that's much more likely that such a person is going to be fair and is really going to apply the law and the facts rather than just being a rubber stamp for the government or the prosecution. But speaking of law school, one other thing I want to mention is that, there was a time period, albeit in different states, that, we were in, regular communication, that even while you were a law student finishing up your studies to become a lawyer, you nonetheless found time to help me study, because I was in law school at the same time, and there were certain subjects that were difficult for me, and you helped me with that, and you spent time when I was going over materials, prepping for tests. And I just think the fact that you did that while you were in the same fight that I was trying to get through law school really speaks a lot to your character.
Thank you, Jeff. And, it seems like that was ages ago,
right?
But we were in the trenches together. And, I've always been the type of person to do whatever I could do to help someone. And I knew your story. I knew your passion. So anything that I could have done to help, I did. And so it was truly my pleasure. And look at where we are now. So it's just so amazing, just how far we both have come. And I'm so glad to know you. And
Thanks.
Go ahead.
So I'll mention one more thing, the fight for Lorenzo, which was something you were knee deep involved in, that went on for 5 years, just so everybody understands. Okay. You were involved in that work for 5 years. Okay. So it's not no flash in the pan, one time thing. It doesn't, work that way. And then later on, after Lorenzo was freed, we decided, the foundation and our coalition group, It Could Happen to You, we wanted to do policy work in Pennsylvania. And I remember we had that initial meeting, we had this big event in New York and Brooklyn, our Servants of Justice banquet. And we had arranged for there to be a meeting an hour before that event, just the Pennsylvanians. We were just talking about forming that coalition group. And, I just gathered together the different advocates and people that I knew spread through Pennsylvania, but who didn't necessarily know each other. And you attended that. I remember you attended that meeting, and you were part of that group, once again contributing whatever you could, your time and your strategy and your connectivity. So solid background and solid body of work. It's one thing to talk in the middle of a campaign. It's something else if somebody has a big body of work that they accomplished long before they even had that aspiration. And this work of yours was long before you were in law school. So I want to make that argument for you.
Thank you. That's very true. Thank you so much, Jeff. And I see that Lorenzo is back. We are now joined by Giovanni Reed and Lorenzo Johnson. And so I think this is a perfect opportunity to dovetail over to Lorenzo Johnson, since Jeff and I sort of got the conversation started, and then we'll hear G's story. But Lorenzo, of course, I call you Kat. But Kat, Jeff and I started off the discussion with how we met, and he first talked about his story and how he had been wrongly convicted and later exonerated in the state of New York, and that our paths crossed in our effort to help free you when you were reincarcerated after the Supreme Court issued a crazy decision which invalidated a lower federal court's ruling that there had been insufficient evidence to convict you of the first-degree murder in the first place. So if you would just go ahead and start with the first part of your story, talk about that crazy appellate history, and then talk about the end.
Crazy story. As we know, the United States Supreme Court only listens to what 1% of criminal cases. It was a question of law, and for them to hear my case in 148 days was kind of crazy and mind-boggling because we appealed for years, and we hope just to be heard. But the regular procedures is, and once they accept the cases, oral arguments and stuff like that. I wasn't granted that. My case was reinstated. My sentence was reinstated with per current decision all in one day, ordering me to return to a natural life sentence. So
now let's back up for the viewing audience. When and where did your case happen, and what were you accused of?
Oh, my case happened in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I was accused of being a lookout, first degree murder. I was sentenced to natural life in 5 to 10, and I did a lot of fighting from there. Like when I came to prison, I was pretty much illiterate to the law, illiterate education. So I got my GED, got a couple college credits, started teaching myself law, and then I ended up representing myself for 6 years. And at the same time, with me representing myself for 6 years, I was reaching out to help to innocent projects from the East Coast, West Coast, down south, out of the country. I sent over 500 to 600 letters out to various organizations, to people for assistance. And I got up to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and I had filed my own appeal. And by that time, Michael Wiseman and Capital Habeas Unit came to my aid and represented me. But all they did was sign off on what I already filed. And it just so happens that was insufficient evidence. And Third Circuit Court of Appeals granted it in 2011. They granted my appeal saying the evidence was insufficient. So the Attorney General had one appeal left. That was to the United States Supreme Court. And at that time, the judge released me until the outcome of that, because insufficient evidence that bars a retrial. So it was going to be no retrial. It was either going to be United States Supreme Court reinstate the conviction, or it's over with.
Now, when that happened, how much time had you served in prison when the federal court said that your conviction was invalid because there was insufficient evidence?
All right, that time was 16 and a half years.
Okay, so you had already served 16 and a half years, and then the federal court said, hey, wait a minute, there was never sufficient evidence to convict you in the first place. And so then at that point, you were released conditionally?
Yeah, I was released, and I came back to my family, got integrated. I met up with Jeff, who I was already in touch with, but wasn't physically in contact with. And Jeff showed me the ropes on, speaking on wrongful convictions and getting involved in the movement. He helped me with reentry. I mean, he just opened the doors to me, and, whatever needed to be done, he had my back. And we started doing a lot of things together. Like, I was learning hands-on with him, and, Jeff got a million things going on, as you know. And because he used to write in the newspaper, and I used to take his articles when they sent them to me, his foundation. I used to pass it out to other innocent people in the prison, and make copies for people so they could see what's going on here, what he got to say, and get everybody involved with the innocent movement. So when I came home, it was like, soon we met up, it was off to the races. And unfortunately, that decision came down, but Jeff did a lot. There's not much you could do when the United States Supreme Court make a decision, but we was in Albany, New York, in front of a lot of people, and Jeff basically sacrificed himself for my story to be heard.
So let me ask you this: when that decision came down and the United States Supreme Court reversed the lower court's ruling, what did that mean for you in terms of your conviction and the life sentence you had previously been serving?
I didn't hear what you said. It was going in and out.
I'm sorry. So when the United States Supreme Court reversed the lower court's ruling, what did that mean for you in terms of your conviction, your previous life sentence? What happened at that point?
If I'm right, you said what it meant by the decision?
Yes. What happened after that?
Oh, pretty much, I had to go back to prison. I was innocent, so I wasn't doing no running. I had a nice support system around me. And at that time, I had the Jeffrey Desovich Foundation representing me. I had Michael Wiseman representing me in the Capital Habeas Unit. So I felt good at my chances, but who wants to go back to prison for a crime they didn't commit and they already served 16 and a half years? And this is a natural life sentence here, whereas, when they ask you where you want your body sent, there's no parole. Only a judge can get you out. And the highest court in the land telling you that you got to go back and serve a natural life sentence is like swallow.
So what you're saying is that you had served 16 years in prison for a crime you didn't commit, was released for 5 months, and then had to return back to prison to resume serving a life sentence?
Now I was released for 149 days. It was 149 days,
right.
And got the message when I was at work, and I really couldn't tell what was going on because, my lawyer was crying on the phone. I couldn't really hear it out. But what I did hear him say was, your conviction was reinstated. You got to, they want you to go back to prison. And in the back of my head, I'm like, you crazy, but my body get numb when you hear something because that's like an innocent person who was released. That's their worst nightmare of going back. That's their worst nightmare. And I pretty much had to live that. And I went from work to the Desovich Foundation, and we all talked. The lawyers started calling, Pennsylvania to see what could be done, whatever. None could be done because it was United States Supreme Court's not higher than them. So the plan was to solidify a avenue that hopefully, that I could get right back out, but that didn't pan out. So Jeffrey Desovich and yourself drove me back when I voluntarily turned myself in. And that was a crazy situation, and I had to wait 5 years for, other evidence to be turned over, my innocence that was in the hands of the Attorney General's office all this time.
Now, I remember that day like the back of my hands. You and Jeff, y'all got together in New York, because I don't think we told the viewing audience that you are from Yonkers, New York, but your case happened here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And so you and Jeff got together, got in his car, hit the highway, came down to Pennsylvania so that you could surrender to the Department of Corrections here in Pennsylvania. But before doing that, I remember we met up. I think y'all came to my apartment, picked me up. We went up on the hill. We took pictures of the crime scene. We, because we, knew that some work still needed to be done to further prove your innocence. And then after that, we had a meal at Crawdaddy's restaurant in Harrisburg. And at that time, Crawdaddy's was on Riley Street. So I remember that like it was yesterday. And then I followed you guys in my car, and we headed over to SCI Camp Hill Prison. And I remember when we pulled up onto the prison grounds, the receiving correctional officer, we had our words at the car with you. And then as we walked over together to the door outside of SCI Camp Hill, the correctional officer looked perplexed. And he said, I don't know if you remember this, his exact words were, "Johnson, what are you doing here?" And you explained like, like the courts did like some crazy stuff. And, it was a very emotional moment for me, the moment that, and then he said, and I, really admired the humanity that he expressed in that moment, because you put your hands together to be cuffed. And he said, "I'm not going to cuff you to the back. I'll just do it to the front." And then my knees buckled from underneath me, and then Jeff embraced me. Like that is a day I will never forget. But look at where you are today. So how are you here today talking to the viewers?
I mean, I'm not bitter, mad. I'm disappointed in the criminal justice system of what I had to go through, and how, for years my legal team honored, the police and the prosecution, and to find out that, they knew I was innocent from day one, and they withheld evidence for 18 and a half years to turn over, and the relevance of what I'm saying is that they let false testimony go from the preliminary hearing all the way to the United States Supreme Court and never corrected it. And then it turned out in 18 and a half years later, they turned over the missing pages of my discovery, and the whole case was a lie. And instead of owning up to it, they still, had me go through how can I say, a no contest plea just to reunite with my family because of the circumstances my family was in at the time that I had to get to them.
What's a no contest plea?
Say it again?
What is a no contest plea?
Can't hear you.
I'll explain. So, Lorenzo indicated that even though we had amassed a lot of evidence, we uncovered the fact that there were statements and exculpatory evidence, which is evidence that shows someone's innocence, that had not been turned over to his defense team years ago at the time of his trial. He was offered the opportunity to plead no contest, which simply means that he does not contest the charges. And he did that for the best interest of himself and his family. Because as you're in prison, and you guys can explain, time moves very quickly out here, and our loved ones, time just moves on. Our families get older, and so he did the no contest plea so that he could get out of prison. So salute to you for being able to make that decision, knowing that you are factually innocent, but doing what you felt that you had to do just to get out of prison and resume living your life. So thank you for sharing that part of your story. And so how did we meet?
Say that again with the last part.
How did we meet? How do you know me?
Because it's not that I can't hear what you're saying. How do
Okay.
Yeah, he got
All right,
on. He
well,
got on. Yeah, you hear it?
I met Latasha Williams as far as she's like an angel to me, and love to death.
Aw.
I met her through elevated advocacy. It's a service that you was doing inside the prisons, and was helping people with Facebooks and MySpaces and investigation work and third party reaching out to people, trying to help people with their cases, basically. And I reached out on, I think it was a Facebook page of mine, and you was running it for me.
I'll finish his thought. So basically what he was saying was that we met while he was in prison the first time, and he reached out to me because he had heard about different ways I was trying to help people in situations like his. And so I would help people with trying to locate witnesses to get their stories out there, helping them with getting exposure. And so I had created social media pages for him to just drum up support from the community and to get his story out there so that people would become aware of the incidents of wrongful convictions and to help put pressure on people who can make a difference, whether it's the courts, whether it was the Attorney General's office, AG Kathleen King at the time. We were out there, we were doing the rallies, like Jeff said, right down on Strawberry Square in downtown Harrisburg. So that's how we met. And now the story kind of all comes full circle because it all started with my advocacy for Giovanni Reed. And so, G, welcome. So if you would share your story with the viewers and talk a little bit about your case and how we met, and we'll just kind of take it from there.
Well, thank you. Well, essentially, I was 16 years old and I was accused of participating in a robbery murder that happened in South Philadelphia when I was and back in 1991. Although I was present, I had nothing to do with the actual crime. I was with a few people that I knew from my neighborhood, and one of the guys who I was with decided that he wanted to rob and shoot somebody while I was present. And then ultimately, I got accused of it, and I went to prison at 16. And initially, my family and a lot of people that were supporting me at the time thought that the truth would just come out because we were all new to the system. we that was my first time ever being in a situation like that. So when I got convicted, I wound up getting convicted of second-degree murder, and I was sentenced to an automatic life sentence. Even though that was my first time ever in trouble, I had no criminal background. It didn't matter. Like when you get convicted of certain elements of murder, is an automatic thing. First and second degree that's how it was. That's how it still is. So not long after my conviction, I began, studying the law. I've been, trying to equip myself with a little bit of information so I could help myself along the way. I didn't see how it would be realistic for me to expect other people to play a bigger role and helping me get my life back than I was playing for myself. So I always try to be the forefront runner in that regard. I try to always be the person that's always leading the charge because at the end of the day, I was the one that was locking in the cell and things of this nature. So I felt like it was my obligation to put forth a greater effort. Can you hear me?
Oh, they hear you. They definitely hear you.
Okay. So
Everybody
okay.
hears.
So
You keep going.
you know, it, okay. It was many years. I think I was into my 10th year of litigation, and I was always in court. I did my best to stay in court, arguing for my innocence and stuff like that. And then one day, I seen a flyer that was showcasing a very innovative class coming out of Temple, and I had the opportunity to meet Tasha um, back in, I believe it was 2002. She was really young. I think she was about 19 years old in her senior year of college, and I got a chance to meet her. If my memory serves me correct, I ultimately found out that my attorney at the time was one of her law professors, Daniel Silverman, and we was able to strike up some conversation as a result of that. But I was in court already, and I remember Tasha attending one of my federal hearings, and we was able to establish a lot of good evidence on record towards my innocence. And despite that, I was ultimately denied. And I think one of the biggest things I felt at that time was that, and everybody always thought I was coming home through these various court hearings I was able to get. And then I remember, sitting back after I got the decision from the Third Circuit, agreeing with the district court. And I remember having to saying like, "Damn, I'm gonna lose a lot because of this." And I thought I was gonna lose Tasha as a friend. And this was like again very early on, and surprisingly to me, she didn't just abandon me. In fact, what she said was, "Listen, no, we're gonna fight this. We're gonna get in there. We're gonna try to develop something in your case." And with the help of her mom, Miss Charlotte Williams, they began writing a lot about my story, putting a lot of stuff on the internet, creating pages, just doing a whole lot. And I was able to attract the attention of a new witness who was actually the victim's roommate, who came forward uh, and said that he witnessed the crime and that he only witnessed one person taking a part of it, and that everybody else he saw was up the street, which was very supportive of my position that I always held. So we was really excited about that, and was all eager to get back in court to try to get things done finally. Um, but through the course of trying to get all of that done, the witness got threatened. Tasha and all the things that she was doing, she actually went to Tennessee for me.
Let me interrupt you real quick. Forgive me. You were on a roll. You said in the midst of finding a new witness in your case that could vouch for your innocence, that he was threatened. Who threatened him?
Well, the detectives that was on my case, two Philadelphia detectives. One, his name was Michael Cahill, and the other one, I forget the other guy name. I believe his last name was Lynch or something like that. In the midst of trying to get the witness to come to Philadelphia, and he agreed to do that. But the day before he was coming to Philadelphia to come testify on my behalf, they sent the detectives out there. They said an attempt to make sure he came to Philadelphia, but which I never really understood because he was already set to come. I didn't see why it was necessary for them to go out there to make sure he came. But that was the story that they gave.
Now,
And,
when you say they, who gave that story?
the district attorney's office. I
Wow,
forget
so
the
you
name.
mean the assigned prosecutor on your case sent detectives out to basically threaten a witness that was prepared to come forward to testify about your innocence?
Yes, and
Wow.
and then it took like so long. Like we had to go through so many procedures to even get him. It took another 4 years to actually get him in court. He testified, and then the judge retired. Then I had to do it all over again. And in the midst of all of that, the United States Supreme Court wound up ruling that my sentence was unconstitutional because I was a juvenile. And I think my innocent claims at that point took sort of like a back seat to the courts, and they wanted me to get resentenced, and they wanted me to go through that process before they dealt with anything further. And unbeknownst to everybody at the time, when I went for resentencing, because of my record and all the things I was doing in prison, my case wound up being the first case where the district attorneys in Philadelphia decided to just whatever numbers or whatever time I had in at the time to just settle it right there and just let me out. So within a few months, I was released from my resentencing in 2017. I came home on September the 20th. I mean, excuse me, September the 4th of 2017. Um, but I mean, Tasha was there to greet me when I came out of prison, and I have to tell you that when I came home and I gained this new perspective in life, and I was able to look back and all the things that she did in terms of advocating for me, I began to appreciate it just even more because I realized how much difficult it was. You don't always get a chance to see that when you're in prison. The difficulty that exists in terms of helping somebody to prove they're innocent, because the Commonwealth is a machine. We all know that, and she stayed in my corner and by my side for 15 years, helping me, and that's an amazing commitment for somebody to dedicate their time, their energy, their financial resources to help somebody in that nature to try to restore some type of normalcy and they getting their life back. She was more than a friend. She was more than an advocate, and I believe that because of her experience, and all this was done prior to uh, the law degree, prior to her taking up office in the district attorney's office, prior to working with any judges. All this was long before that, and she was advocating at a very very young age, and it's really amazing to see that she has been able to continue on and go to greater heights, and I'm really proud of the work that she's doing, all the things that she's doing, and I believe that she's more than fit to be a judge because I don't think you would get any fairer than what she can bring to that bench.
I really appreciate that, G, so much. Well, Scarfo, I'm gonna turn it back over to you, but
Uh,
this was a good conversation with all
oh,
the
oh
guys.
yeah, oh yeah. We're gonna sprucing it up because right now we're gonna talk a little bit about some music. All right, while you're there right now, just give me like the top two R&B and top two male and female R&B that you listen to currently. It's your greatest of all times. You on the podium right now, so you might as well go ahead and be first.
Who
You
you
hear it?
talking
You
to?
talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to G. I didn't move you. Yeah, it's on you right now.
I mean, I'm real old school though. I listen to a lot of
It
old
don't
school
matter.
R&B.
It don't matter. It really doesn't matter. That's what makes music. It doesn't matter what era. Right now, who's your top two, male and female?
Um,
It could be rap. It don't matter. Rap, R&B. It doesn't matter because we got a couple more
R&B.
people, and I'm quite sure they're thinking right now.
I like Usher. I like Usher. I listen to Usher and The Weeknd. I like The Weeknd.
Okay, The Weeknd.
Yeah, I like his music. I think he's really creative. In terms of the female artists, I would have to, like I said, I listen to a lot of old music. I like Mary J. Blige.
Oh, Mary J. You got it. Take me as I am. Yeah, definitely.
I know that a lot of her music spoke to me when I was in prison. A lot of music that I still listen to is a lot of music that helped me get through the times that I was in.
I'm glad you said that because if you take it back to her first album, What's the 411? You Remind Me and all of those big hits when she first came out. Those songs they still have the impact if you listen to it in a big system at any given time. She's a great lyricist, great artist. All right, let's switch to the men right now.
In terms of rap or
Men, it doesn't matter. Just give me two. I'm gonna just make everybody just do two and two, and that way, we just keep moving, and then Tasha will come right back.
In terms of R&B, I like Usher and I like The Weeknd. That's what I've been listening to. I listen to a lot of artists. I'm like real broad musically. I listen to a lot of stuff, but a lot of stuff that I listen to now is essentially like the music that helped me get through when I was in prison.
That's why I bring it back to music, because sometimes there's a song that even when your troubles was there, that other song was there that brought you back, that lift you up. There was always songs out there that that you remember that brought you back to, oh, okay, I feel like a kid again. I feel good again. That type of music. That's what music does. Music transcends, and it actually tells your journey, as you go. You said Mary J. Blige, 411 album, incredible. But she did a lot of other music after that. But that 411 had some hits on it.
Absolutely. I remember a song that really used to inspire me was Optimistic. I forget who's singing, but you know what I'm talking about.
Optimistic. It was a song out. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, that was really inspirational to me. I really liked that song. I used to always listen to it. And I listen to it a lot now.
Yeah, Optimistic. Yeah, and it has a message in it.
Yeah,
Optimistic, All right. So that's your 2 and 2. Okay, Jeff, you're on the clock. 2 and 2. I don't know if you listen to rap, but you might do. But if not, it could be pop music. It could be whatever, country, whatever you want. You might shock us and go all rap. I don't know. But you on the clock right now.
Oh, Jeff, you're muted.
Wait a minute.
Okay, here we go.
There you go.
Okay, yeah. So, like Giovanni, I'm eclectic. So I'm gonna go on the male side. I'm going to go with the group Nickelback. I love their song "If Today Was Your Last Day." I find that to be really inspirational. And the second male group, there was a song. It was by T.I. and Justin Timberlake. That song, "Dead and Gone." Dead and Gone.
Oh,
yeah, he's talking about the natural evolution and leaving behind the old ways and be more enlightened, more mature. On the female side, I really like that song "Friends" by Jody Watley.
Yeah, that's
that song "Friends." Yeah, so I really liked that. I really liked that song by her, and
Okay.
I did. And last one is I like Paula Abdul. That song "Straight Up." You
Oh
know,
yeah.
so the
Paula
commonality,
had hit.
just realness with people interaction on whatever level and whatever relationship paradigm it is, you know, even just you in the world, just being real with people. So
Yeah.
that speaks to me.
Paula Abdul, definitely a legend, great dancer, choreographer. Between her and J Lo, they're going to give you a great show. That that brings it back to Lisa Colt Jam. I wonder if I take you home. That kind of music. So definitely, that was the '80s era, I believe you went to with
Yes,
Paula
that's right.
Abdul, and that means Janet Jackson was around. Uh,
Yes.
so oh yeah, it's all right. That's one of the bangers that Janet did do. All right, so it sounds like you did. Was that two, or you got two
That
more
was
in
two
you?
and two. That was two and two. I could do a
Two,
couple. I could
two
do
and
a couple of more, but
you
yeah,
can
I
do a
did two
couple
and
more
two.
because Lorenzo, he's having a cyber attack down there, as you can see. So we're gonna let you talk a little bit more about some more artists.
Sure. So I did like that song by Nas, My Country.
Nice. Oh, you going in today?
So I like that one. And here's another one I really think that that you'll appreciate my liking. Uh, is that song by Wiz Khalifa when he teamed up with Charlie Puth for that song till I see you again, which was the theme
Oh,
song at
okay.
the end of
Yeah.
Fast and Furious Part 7 after,
Nice.
you know, Paul Walker had passed away. They made the video on it. And, you know, songs talking about people that are traveling down the same road of life. And then they're watching, you know, Paul Walker, another person driving a car. And then they like go and finally the roads veer off. And I saw that as, you know, metaphorical, like, all right, the life path, you know, it veers because, you know, his obviously became over, but the other person, other brother in the car had to keep going with his life. It wasn't his time to get off the road yet.
Yeah. And see, one thing about both of y'all, what I noticed was whatever those songs y'all pick, it has something to do with your journey
Yes,
of the
yes,
adversity that both of y'all went through. When you said Mary J. Blige, G, well, one thing about her music, it's heartfelt and it's real. And that's one of the biggest things about her career. To me, she had the most hits in realness when it came down to music. And that's why to this day, when she does her live performances, she's always giving you a great show. But it's those songs that tell the journey, and that's
Yeah,
what make Mary J. Blige Mary J. to me.
yeah, she was really passionate singer. Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. He's back after a cyber attack. He's there. Lorenzo, you made it back.
Yo,
You
what's up?
made it. You back again. You like Rocky. You back again. So
No
we
doubt.
need two and two. We need two hip hop, two R&B, two female R&B. It doesn't matter. Just two and two. Two of your greatest of all times. It's pretty much going to tell us your journey. Believe it or not, whatever songs you pick.
DMX.
Uh-oh. You
Uh,
had to put the dog in there. The dog. Okay.
yeah.
Rest in peace, DMX.
You got
Mm-hmm.
DMX. You got. Uh, uh, I like Alicia Keys.
Alicia Keys. Oh, you know what? Alicia Keys did that song. Kanye West produced it. You Don't Know My Name. That's one of the best songs on the radio.
You know, and Jay-Z. You know,
Jigga
you
Man.
got. I listen to a whole bunch of different music, and the reason why I listen to a bunch of different music because at the various prisons I was at, you couldn't get certain channels, so you had to make do with whatever that the radio station could pick up. So I listen to a lot of different genres, but I like, Mary, you can't go wrong, and DMX,
DMX, Mary J. Blige. You will not go wrong with neither one of them. I always tell people, I think DMX was the greatest electrifying rapper alive because the way he did it on tape is the way he was, and he was growling and he did all that dog sound, and he really did that when he was in his heyday. Big shout out, and by the way, You got to give a big shout out to Jay-Z and Beyonce. They bought his catalog and gave it to DMX's 17 kids. He put up $10 million, bought the catalog, and gave it to his kids so they could have something. Shout out to Jay-Z and
That
Beyonce.
wasn't accurate.
I thought I heard that might not be correct.
That's
Oh, they
not
got
accurate.
him? Oh, they not? Oh,
That's
Lord.
not-
They put $10 on him now. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
That's
Well,
not-
that's what they said, though. They said that.
Yeah, I
All
know
right.
it was a rumor. You know, there's so many different rumors. You know, going out, it's hard to differentiate what's the truth and what's not the truth. But in times like that, not saying that Jay-Z need any clout or fame because he got it all. But a lot of times your name gets tied to things that's not the truth.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Now, this is the truth. Jay-Z sold Spotify for 350 something million, and he only put up like 20 million. Now that is
Yeah.
that is real. All right,
He
so
the state title.
yeah, Tasha, you're back on the clock. It's
Oh.
time for you to finish it off, or tell them some more questions if you want to throw them at them.
Well, I don't know. I think we covered a lot of ground. One of the reasons why I was hoping we could pull this off today, and we did. And again, shout out to SL Digital Media Podcast for just helping to bring the message to the community, because I don't think people understand how oftentimes people are wrongly convicted, and the guys can speak to why wrongful convictions happen. Now, their cases happened. Let me see. Well, Giovanni was 91. I think Lorenzo was 96 or 95. And Jeff, when did your case happen?
Yeah, my case happened in 1990, and I was not exonerated until 2006.
1990. So these cases happened during times when we didn't have the technology we have today. DNA has come a long way. Police interrogations were not recorded. We didn't have body-worn cameras. We didn't have dash cams mounted in police cruisers. Of course, so Giovanni's case is out of Philadelphia. That was under the regime of Lynn Abraham. So things were just very different. Lorenzo's case was right here in Dauphin County. Jeff was out of New York, of course. And so their cases took place when times were a bit different. So I do think we've come a ways in terms of technology, but at the end of the day, you can't change people. You can only hope that you can change what's in their heart. And the people I'm referring to are the people who are in charge and in control of what happens in our lives. And that would be law enforcement, that would be the police, that would be prosecutors. And it's important that we all play our part in our local elections, because we determine who serves as our elected district attorney. We have a say-so in the people who are put into positions of power. And in Pennsylvania, our upcoming May 18th primary is super important, because each level of judicial authority will be on the ballot. So our minor courts, or out here, we call them magisterial district justices. So our magisterial district justices will be on the ballot. The Court of Common Pleas, which is the race that I am running in. And then we have our two intermediate appellate courts, which are the Superior Court of Pennsylvania and the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania. And shout out to Judge Sierra Thomas Street. She commented earlier. I'm not sure if she's
Tomorrow, Dick Gregory's son is coming. Lisby is coming. It's going to be crazy again tomorrow. Stay tuned.
Yeah, that's going to be hot. And she was present today for the broadcast. I noted where she had commented. We've been hanging out on the campaign trail. That's been awesome. She's currently a common pleas court judge in Philly, but she is running for a seat, one of the two open seats on our Commonwealth Court. And then, of course, our Supreme Court, there is one seat open there. So this is a super important time for Pennsylvanians. And I just hope that people go out to vote. As I've said in the past, my race is a historic race. In 235 plus years, there has never been a Black woman to serve on the Dauphin County Court of Common Pleas. And so we can all change that on May the 18th, hopefully on May the 18th for good. But if not on May the 18th, that's the first step. And then the second step is on November the 2nd. I'll go ahead and close out, but I want the fellas to end with any last words that they have. And then I'll give like my final, because I do want the viewers to know about a very important event that we're having tomorrow. So guys, y'all want to close it out?
I just want to stress the importance of people showing up to vote. You know, if people don't vote, then whoever we get in office for in any election, if we don't vote, then we get what we deserve. It's really important who's in office. Do we want to have someone that's going to be a rubber stamp? Do we want to be somebody that is really going to be objective, that's going to be neutral, that's going to apply the law and the facts evenly and fairly? One of the main reasons why it takes so long to correct wrongful convictions, which the average length of wrongful imprisonment is 14 years, is that too many times judges just rubber stamp deny appeals, and they rubber stamp deny motions. And when you read the case summaries of people who've been exonerated, there were plenty of red flags along the way that when judges could have stepped in and did the right thing, but didn't. So I think that who's in any position is super important, and it's really, really important to get justice-oriented judges in office. So I do encourage everybody to show up on election day, and encourage all your friends, family, associates to come out and vote. So I'm really rooting hard for you here, Latasha. So I'm hoping that you in fact get elected.
Thank you, Jazz.
Who's next?
Well, everybody that's looking and viewers, this is the time to come forth to make a difference. A lot of people see rallies and all that type of stuff and wonder why people stay in prison so long for wrongful convictions. This is the time to step up to put a judge in play that, would attack this from day one and not 14, 15 years later. This is the time, understand a lot of people run on the balance being tougher on crime. I have no problem with that. I have a problem when it's innocent people in prison that doesn't belong there, and their case get rubber stamped to the next court. And like Jeff said, that's why the average innocent person who's fortunate to get out spends at least 14 years in prison. We're trying to break that cycle, and at the end of the day, put a good person in there. And Latasha record speaks for herself. Like, it's unblemished. Like, she's the truth. She needs to be in there. And our system will never change if you don't put the pieces in play to make that happen. And, the vote goes to Latasha in my case.
All right. We got one more.
Well, I certainly echo sentiments of both Lorenzo and Jeff. One of the things that I could definitely say is that Tasha is someone who definitely deserves to be put on the bench. I think she'll make the playing ground a little bit more fair. One of the things I've done in that regard was I've reached out to a lot of people that I knew in Harrisburg, and so I'm going to take this opportunity to tell everybody that I know that's in the districts that she's running in Dauphin County to definitely make sure you go out and vote. We need fair people on these benches. Like you see, one of the things that's happened in Philadelphia, you have the DA's election that's coming on, Larry Krasner, and I believe he's running against Carlos Vega. And from my perspective, having Carlos Vega back into office, especially the top office, is like going back to the Lynn Abraham days. So that's something that can't happen. We need to put people on the bench that's going to be fair, that's going to be progressive, and have have a mindset toward justice, and I believe that everything I know about Tasha, that she can provide that. You know what I'm saying? Not just, again, like Lorenzo said, her reputation and her history for advocating for the innocent is already well established. We just need to get her in here so she can take that same advocacy to another level. So again, everybody I know and everybody I don't know, if you in that area, vote Latasha.
All right. That's
Aw.
it, people. That's it. Another fireside chat with Latasha Shireen Williams, ESQ, the
Thank
York
you.
County Assistant District Attorney. She's running for the Dauphin County Common Pleas Court Judge candidacy. Make sure you vote for Latasha Shireen Williams. We are signing off. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, yeah.
Don't stop. Keep going.
Absolutely. Thank you.